Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, Frat Boy Wants Viagra? Okay. I'm sharing this story with permission from a colleague of mine from a former job. My friend, male nurse, MN, worked at the Student Health Center at a large, very well-to-do university on the eastern seaboard. This is the kind of place that lets a few poor folks in to balance out the avalanche of legacies, the kind of people who'll show up on the all-name lacrosse team lists posted every once in a while. This afforded him the opportunity to interact with dozens of Chads, Rachels, Tuckers, and Emmas every day. But more so the Chads and Tuckers, since he was also a guy and naturally was seen for guy-related visits. One day, a Chad pays him a visit in triage, with a chief complaint of private. This isn't unusual for people to write on their intake form when it's something embarrassing, and so MN ushers Chad back to a triage room to get the story. Turns out Chad has a problem. He'd been partying last weekend, and tried to hook up with Emma from Greek letter sorority. But he'd been totally plastered and was unable to perform. So what Chad wanted in order to solve this problem was a prescription for Viagra. MN raises an eyebrow and calmly explains to Chad that whiskey dick is a pretty normal thing, and instead, he should try to simply drink less if he wanted to hook up with sorority girls. Chad, however, finds this an unreasonable request, and begins to berate MN. I pay your salary with my tuition money. My dad is a booster. He knows, college president, and football coach. Etc., etc. MN considers this for a minute, and finally says to Chad, listen. Our providers at Student Health are not allowed to write for Viagra prescriptions. But I know what we can do. And so MN writes a referral to a local physician for Chad. Someone your age having severe erectile dysfunction is very unusual, wink. So I'll put a note in the computer that we need to get you in to see, doctor. And he can absolutely write you a prescription for whatever you need. Chad is apparently beyond thrilled, all high fives and thanks, bro, you are so bro. MN smiles and sends Chad on his way, because MN knows a late teens, early 20s-year-old male having severe erectile dysfunction is very unusual, and requires the services of a specialist in order to determine the best course of action, specifically, a urologist. And what Chad didn't seem to realize is that when you go to see the urologist, part and parcel with that is a prostate exam. My friend MN never saw Chad back again, but he likes to think that Chad had the same kind of eye-opening experience that John Mulaney had in similar circumstances. Next one is titled, Boss Don't Want to Pay 2 Commissions, at the End Pays for 13. So this is a story from my wife from a job she had like 7 years ago. Hope you like it. My wife, she worked for a real estate agency. In my country, only the owner of the agency is mandatory to have a recognized license as a real estate agent. All the other workers are like gatherers of buyers and sellers. At the end, all the deals are made with the license number from the agency owner. This means that my wife does all the normal work from a real estate agent, but at the end the official papers will only show the agency owner as the middleman. One important thing, my wife's position is recognized on my country laws. But of course she can never work by herself without a license. So my brother is working outside my country and has, for my country standards, a huge paycheck. So he decides to start buying houses and rent them for tourists. Of course he speaks with my wife about this so she can earn some money as well in commissions. Usually agencies charge a 5% fee on the houses above 100K. And if less, it's a fixed fee of 5K. This one is then split in 50% to the agency owner, 25% to the person who get the buyer, and the other 25% to the person who got the seller. Some of the houses that he was interested are listed on other real estate agencies. All is going well for like 4 deals that my brother did with my wife, and of course her boss was happy. Then we have one last business that didn't go well. The seller didn't want to reduce the price, and my brother didn't want to increase the price. It's standard if the difference is small, around 1K. The agency agrees to reduce the business fee, it's better something than nothing. But my wife's boss didn't agree to reduce the fee. My brother was upset because it was already the 5th business he was doing and the agency owner already won with my brother a minimum of $8,000 on the fees. So my brother decided to try to find out who was the seller. Without my wife's help he managed to get to the owner, since the house was also listed on a free website without an agency in the middle, and made the deal straight with him. This way neither my wife nor her boss got anything with this sell and he got the house cheaper. Of course my wife's boss started to accuse her that she made the deal on their back. My wife was completely upset with this situation, and even my brother explained to my wife's boss how and why he did it. Boss didn't believe in nothing and said that she stole the agency fee. My wife decided that's the last straw and asked for a resignation paper where she will receive her commission on the 2 sales that were scheduled for the next week, since one she got the buyer and the other the seller. The boss agrees and gives her the resignation paper. My wife on the next day is working already on other agency. She was always receiving invites to work on the competition, but always said no since that was the first one and where she learned a lot. 2 weeks go by, and my wife starts texting with one of her clients that had the sale booked on the week before, where she is informed that the sale was done and he already paid the commission on the same day to her former boss. Next day she goes straight to her former boss and asked for her share of the commission. Boss simply denies it and says, "You are lucky if I don't press charges against you." Here comes the MC. Wife after this calls me and tell me to go meet her up at a coffee shop. After this we went straight to a lawyer. After we explained everything to our lawyer, this is the dialogue. Lawyer: what is your job, wife? Wife: to get people interested in buying or selling houses. Lawyer: so if you got a buyer or a seller, doesn't matter if the sale is finished yet, your job is finished, of course you only get paid after the sale is final. How many more sellers you have, those are still on the agency? Wife: about 11 houses. Lawyer: so for every sell of those 11 houses your old boss have to pay you your share? Wife: even when I'm already not working in there anymore? Lawyer: yes, you did your job, you've got 11 people interested in selling their houses. If they sell them trough your old agency, your former boss have to pay you, he is profiting with your work. He only sold those houses because you got the sellers to sign with his agency to use them as a middleman. Wife: and what about my resignation letter where I should only get 2 commission? Lawyer: forget about that, it's so badly made that is open to more than one interpretation. It will never work in court. At the end our lawyer send them a letter informing about our meeting. Next week she got those 2 commissions and on the next 4 months she got the other 11. Next one is titled, "Exactly £1, you say? Sure. I'm a part-time home baker. I took it up while I'm studying from home during the pandemic, and it's basically a fundraiser for my charity since I can't do my monthly fundraiser bake sales on campus anymore. I'm also the only person selling baked goods in my entire area, so my items are very popular. Specifically this one particular type of cake I make that people absolutely love. The other day, a lady called me and wanted to place an order for £1 of this particular cake. She said she had tried it at a friend's house and loved it and wanted it for her niece's birthday. I told her that I used the metric measurements, so my cakes are actually 500 grams or 1 kilogram, £1 equals 454 grams. She said she wanted a £1 cake. I dropped it because it was more or less the same thing. Important for later. When I had made the cake for her friend, I had run out of my £1 cake bases, so I had used £2 cake base. In my opinion, this made the cake look smaller, but it's possible that someone else might think that the cake was bigger. Edit. To clear up some confusion, cake base is the cardboard on top of which you put the cake. I used 2 sizes, 9 inches diameter base for my small cakes, 500 grams, and 12 inches diameter base for the big cakes, 1 kilogram. When the lady's friend ordered, I had run out of the smaller base, so I used the 12 inches base for the 500 grams cake. After I took the order and quoted the price to her, she started giving me more instructions. The birthday girl is 16, so decorate it according to a 16-year-old girl. I know, super vague. Add XYZ stuff to it, write 4 different things on the cake. I explained to her that all this is not included in the base price and the kind of toppings she wanted would make it a lot heavier and pricier. She said make it a 1-pound cake for the 1-pound cake price. Okay, I get the hint. You want a 1-pound cake with those specific customizations. So I made it just that. Removed some of the ganache, made thinner layers so I could incorporate her additions and still keep it at exactly 454 grams, no more, no less. The lady came to pick it up and she went ballistic because I was trying to rob her in the name of charity, and the cake I made was in no way 1 pound because her friend's cake was bigger. I tried explaining to her why her friend's cake might have looked bigger, and that this cake was exactly 1 pound as she wanted. She refused to listen and was starting to create a huge scene, said she wanted a refund. So I brought my weighing scale out and weighed the cake out in front of her. 454 grams exactly. The lady saw and went, "Aha. I was right. You are trying to cheat me. It's 50 grams less." I said no, it's exactly 1 pound, like you wanted. I opened up Google Converter and showed her that 1 pound is in fact 454 grams, not 500. I opened WhatsApp and showed her the message where I told her I make 500 grams standard cakes and she said she doesn't care, she wants 1 pound. She was a bit gobsmacked and said I should have had some professional courtesy and made it 500 grams and I am trying to cheat her. I had it with her. I told her, "Ma'am, you wanted exactly 1 pound cake. You said it to me 4 times. So you can take this exactly 1 pound cake, or you can take your refund and leave. I can find other people who would want to buy a 1 pound cake." She took her 1 pound cake and left, saying she will never buy anything from me again and make sure to let others know too. Later, her niece followed my page on Instagram and dropped me a message apologizing for her aunt, said it was the best cake she had ever had and she will surely tell everyone about my bakery. Edit. I don't see exactly where the weight confusion is coming from, but basically, I have 2 standard sizes for my cakes which are 500 grams and 1 kilogram, because we use the metric system. Because of the American influence though, people have become used to cakes being either 1 pound or 2 pounds in weight but don't often know the difference between the two. They just assume that 1 pound equals half a kilogram and 2 pounds equals 1 kilogram. Edit 2. Till America doesn't sell cakes by weight, lol. It's the standard practice over here that the rates are fixed by weight. Also, the cake in question here was not a traditional cake, so there was no way she wanted a pound cake. Next one is titled, "I Got What I Asked For." So this wasn't me conducting the malicious compliance but being on the receiving end of it. This was a few years ago, I was in college at the time. During our hour lunch break myself and a few classmates walked into the city center, which was a 20-minute walk, to grab some food as the college cafe only had small chocolate bars or what you could get from the vending machines. We settled on Subway due to it being closest and it being the lunch rush. The local Golden Arches was overflowing. We went in and even they were swamped with customers. Due to waking up late, this was going to be my first meal of the day, so I was pretty hungry by the time I got to the counter. I ordered the usual, honey oat meatball, spicy cheese, red onion, cucumber, tomato, jalapeno and gherkins with sweet onion and spicy chili sauce. I know it's a monster to close. Normally I have to ask for extra jalapeno and gherkins because I love the two together and feel I never get enough, so will ask for more. I didn't recognize the server and when it came to my order I asked for a handful of gherkins. Without hesitating he put his hand in and like a claw his hand pull out what would about a jar and a half of sliced gherkins and put it on my sandwich like a mountain of green, pickled goodness. Immediately his manager rushed over to stop him, apologizing to me while reprimanding him. I was floored in amazement while my classmates either joined me or were disgusted. "This is perfect," I said aloud. This confused the manager, asking if I was really okay with the sandwich, as to which I beamed a happy, "Yep." I walked out with a sandwich that could barely hold, with half of it being gherkins, the other half everything else. The next day I walk in after classes and it's the same server. I asked if he could make me the sandwich again like he did last time with maybe half the amount of pickles this time. He laughed and asked was I really okay with it the other day. I then found out the manager had a bean at him and his colleagues the whole day. I don't remember the conversation exactly. He told me that the manager demanded they follow the formula. When a customer wanted more, then to give them a few extra pieces. Otherwise they're losing money, and to only give the customer exactly what they order. I asked for a handful, I got a handful. And I loved it. Next one is titled, Quitting and Having to Decline Invites. My boss told me to decline all my meetings that I have scheduled in the future with him and the team, even though he knows I will be gone on Friday. So I put an out of office in Outlook for a 6-month timeframe from tomorrow for about 6 months, which is about the length of any recurring meeting I had on the calendar. I set it up for people to contact my boss as I am no longer with the company. I made sure to select the option to have Outlook auto-decline any meetings within that timeframe. That means that it declined each one individually instead of a series decline, and he and others got about 30 to 60 plus individual meeting declines. Kiss my butt. Last one is titled, You Want Me in the Back? You got it. This was years ago, decades, in fact. I'm in my 40s, and this happened in grade 7. I come home from the first day of school. Grade 7 was a different school from where I went to grade 6, and my mom asks how it went. I said it was mostly fine, but I was late. She asks if I got lost, and I said no. I explained that I got sick and was in the bathroom. See, I get motion sickness on buses. The bus driver told us, all the way back in 3 to a seat. I explained to her, I always sit in the front because I get sick. All the way back in 3 to a seat, she yells. I tried to explain to her that I'll get sick. She just yells at me again. I'm telling this to my mom, a high school teacher, by the way, and that I was holding it in the best I could until we got to school, when I ran to the bathroom and got sick for several minutes. When I came home, the same thing happened. I got home way before she did, so she didn't know. I asked her if she'd write a note for me that I could give to the bus driver. No. But Mom. No, you do exactly what she tells you, she said with a gleam in her eye. But I'll get sick. Yep, you sure will. I'll be late again. I don't know why, she said and just looked at me. I stood there for a second and went, are you serious? So, day 2. I get on the bus and I ask if I can sit in the front since I'll get sick otherwise. We went over this yesterday. All the way back in 3 to a seat, she tells me. Okay. I got sick. I threw up on the bus floor. Every time the bus turned or went up, down a hill, other kids were picking up their feet to try to avoid it. My mom, being the awesome person she is, had packed some paper towels in my backpack so I could clean myself up. We got to school, and the bus smelled awful. The kids were complaining to the driver. The driver was upset. The boys at my stop, who were friends of mine, griped at the driver. She kept telling you she'd puke. That afternoon when it was time to go home on the bus, she told me I could sit anywhere I wanted. Thanks for listening.